The DMR meta is here to stay for a little while longer, but it did get a nerf earlier on this week. And since then, a lot of people have went back to using the CR56 AMAX and the Kilo. So in this video, we're going to compare the DMR 14 to the AMAX to see if it is actually viable. The likelihood is we're going to see another DMR 14 nerf, and therefore this video will be outdated. So we will make another video in the future comparing these two weapons again. And if you want to see that video as well, subscribe to our channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. And we're already on our way to achieving that, which is amazing to see. So if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. In videos like this, we compare the stats of both guns to let you know which one is the best. But to answer the question really quickly for you, the DMR 14 is the clear winner of this video already, because it is still extremely overpowered. But if you want to see the in-depth breakdown, stick around for the rest of this video. Without wasting too much time on this, a lot of people know what the best builds are for both of these guns, but if you don't, this is the best CR56 AMAX build, which we'll be using for the rest of this video. And this is the best DMR 14 build, and keep in mind we're using the titanium barrel here, not the task force barrel. Now with that out of the way, let's take a look at the stats for both of these guns. There is a lot to go through here. So on the left we have the DMR 14 from Cold War, and on the right we have the CR56 AMAX from Modern Warfare. White is the base weapon stats, green is just some really important highlight areas, and blue is with the attachments added. Looking at the damage for the DMR 14 first, it does 112 damage to the head and 60 damage to the body. That means it's a 3-shot kill if you're landing all headshots and a 5-shot kill if you're landing all body shots. Now this is pretty much at any distance, which is definitely what makes the DMR 14 overpowered. The headshot damage for the AMAX is 56, then it drops down to 51. The body shot damage is 42, and then it drops down to 38. That means if you're landing all headshots, which is going to be very difficult with this gun, it's going to be a 5-shot kill. And if you're landing all body shots, it'll be a 6-shot kill. The base max rate of fire for the DMR 14 is 370 rounds per minute. And then adding on that titanium barrel makes your rate of fire 482 rounds per minute. For the AMAX, the rate of fire is 630 rounds per minute, which is going to be faster than the DMR 14. Keep in mind the AMAX is a full auto weapon, whereas the DMR is a semi-automatic weapon. All of our time to kill values on the screen just now are based on if you land body shots only. Now if you land one single headshot with the DMR 14, it's going to reduce the number of shots it takes to kill by 1, therefore decreasing the time to kill even further. The base time to kill for the DMR 14 is 649 milliseconds, but when you add on that titanium barrel, increasing the rate of fire reduces the time to kill down to 498 milliseconds. The AMAX at close range kills in 476 milliseconds, and then when you go past the 24 meter damage drop-off point, it goes to 571 milliseconds. So you can see at close range, the AMAX does perform that little bit better, even if you compare it to the titanium barrel on the DMR. But once you go past that 24 meter distance, or the 34 meter distance when you add on the Zodiac barrel and the mono suppressor, the longer range advantage goes to the DMR, and that goes all the way up to infinity pretty much, because the DMR doesn't really have a damage drop-off point. We were only able to accurately test from 80 to 100 meters, but from what we can tell, even past that distance, it still does really high damage. The base aim down sight speed is a little bit faster on the AMAX, but it's not a significant amount. The magazine size on the DMR 14 is 20, and the magazine size on the AMAX is 30. But keep in mind the DMR 14 is semi-automatic, so you're not going to be burning through ammo as quickly as you would with the AMAX. The reload time for both of these guns is pretty much exactly the same. Then the base bullet velocity for the DMR 14 is 500 milliseconds. The base bullet velocity for the AMAX is 587 milliseconds. And this same advantage applies to the AMAX even once you add on attachments, it's going to have the faster bullet velocity. We should all know by now that the Cold War guns have a lesser bullet velocity than the Modern Warfare guns. And you would think to add on the task force barrel, because it does say it gives you a bullet velocity advantage, but after some testing we've actually noticed that the task force barrel gives you a worse bullet velocity than the titanium barrel. One thing that's not shown on screen just now is the overall movement speed of both of these guns, which is pretty similar. Not a huge amount separates these guns there. So both of these guns do kill extremely quickly, but it's all down to how many shots you can land with each of these guns and how accurate you are. What you can see on screen just now is the recoil chart for both of the base guns, the CR56 AMAX on the right and the DMR 14 on the left. This chart was taken at a 12 meter distance to get a good idea of what a mid-range gunfight would look like, and you can see that the DMR-14 is definitely the more accurate weapon. Even though the nerf for the DMR-14 stated that they increased the recoil, it seems like they haven't done that at all. Now we have the recoil with the attachments added, the DMR on the left again and the CR56 on the right. You can see now with the attachments added a significant increase to the DMR's recoil. Keep in mind now you're firing 40 bullets instead of 20, and then for the AMAX you're firing 45 bullets, and you can see the recoil for that gun is very similar to its base weapon. Overall, in my opinion, it's going to be very easy to land shots with both of these guns. Now the DMR-14 is going to be a little bit easier because you're not always going to be reaching that max fire rate with the DMR because it is semi-automatic, and it's going to depend on how fast you pull the trigger. But then again, it's kind of difficult if you are reaching that max fire rate to also control the analog stick at the same time, especially whilst you're trying to spam a trigger. Whereas with the CR56 AMAX, if you're just holding down that trigger, it's easy to pull down on your analog stick and adjust for the recoil. So overall, there doesn't seem like a lot that's actually separating these two guns here, but the main factors that actually make the DMR-14 overpowered is that you can use this at any range and the damage doesn't drop off. And if you land one single headshot, it's going to significantly reduce the number of shots it takes to kill with the DMR, whereas the CR56 doesn't have this benefit. The last thing we need to take a look into is the base hipfire accuracy for both of these guns. Again, we have the DMR-14 on the left, and then we have the Modern Warfare CR56 on the right. This chart was done at a 4 meter distance where I believe most people would actually be hipfiring, and you can see that neither one of these two guns are accurate for their base weapons. It's also a very similar scenario when you stack attachments on these guns because you're not using a 5mm laser on either one. What I have noticed with the DMR-14, and not that I recommend hip firing all that often with this gun, but on the occasion that you do get caught out, the DMR has such a high damage profile that even if you land one or two of those bullets on an already weakened opponent, you're going to kill them pretty quickly compared to the AMAX. Now, like I said, I wouldn't recommend hip firing with either one of these two guns. They're going to go best paired with an SMG or a shotgun or even the Diamati pistols. So I've gave you all these stats, compared both of these guns, and it still all seems a bit fuzzy at the moment because the AMAX is still a great weapon, but what is actually making the DMR really overpowered is the fact that it doesn't drop off in terms of damage. It has an extremely high damage profile, and not only that, it's very accurate as well. So it's not the fact that it beats the AMAX significantly in one of these areas, it's all of this combined together to make a really powerful gun. Personally, I think the previous nerf was enough to open the doors to allow people to start using other weapons like the AMAX or the Kilo, but I still think you should be using the DMR-14 because it's still the most overpowered gun in the game, right next to those Diamati pistols. So I would hold off going back to your AMAX or Kilo just yet until we see another nerf to the DMR-14. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like as it helps us get recommended more. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and thank you very much for watching.